Kia ora tātou. Thank you, Veronica, for that welcome. Yeah, I am a South African. I'm a Kiwi through and through. I haven't yet eaten a spaghetti pizza, but other than that, I regard this as home, and it's really great to be here today. Heta, thank you so much for that presentation. There was so much in what you were saying and doing up in the north, in the sunny north, that resonates with what we're doing here at Massey as well. So today I'm just going to be talking about one of the projects that we've got going at Massey University, which is, we're calling it the Course Incubator, based on some of the same principles that we've just heard of from Heta. And I'm going to start by giving you just a sort of a general overview of the context that we're working in here, and then talk about our high-level approach before focusing in more detail on what we're doing in the incubator. So Massey University, as I guess you probably know, is a multi-campus university. We have three physical campuses and a large distance cohort. 58% of our students are enrolled in at least one course by distance, and 46% of them are studying fully online. We also have a significant number of part-time students. 2/3 of our students are female, almost 2/3 are mature age. And while our proportions of Māori and Pacific are still small relative to the rest of the population, a number of those students are studying by distance and part-time. I haven't got specific numbers here, but we also know that many of our students identify, especially in the distance cohort, as either disabled or neurodiverse and neurodiverse. So while the main purpose of these slides is to give you a general idea of our student demographics, it's really worth also thinking about the barriers that we know are faced by minoritized cohorts, and how those are compounded for some of our students who, for example, could be Māori, female, neurodiverse, part-time, and studying by distance. Is a really significant compounding effect there that affects their ability to engage with the kind of traditional university structures. So like many universities, Massey has been grappling with student success, retention, completion issues for some time, and we've had a number of projects on the go. Unfortunately, many projects, well-intentioned, are often uncoordinated, unsustainable. They can be disconnected from central systems and sometimes even working at cross purposes. At the start of 2021, I did a rough audit, and this was just an audit of the things that we could sort of see on the surface. And we counted 185 separate student success projects, varying sizes, varying focuses. And as you can imagine, with this number of projects, significant overlap and duplication of effort. And yeah, it's just not a sustainable approach to really coming to grips with the problems that face students. And so to address this, the Pūrehuroatanga initiative was started in March of 2021 with the aim of bringing all of these initiatives under a single governance structure designed to ensure that each part of the university knew what the others were doing and could collaborate and capitalize on initiatives. And so one of the initiatives under this kind of consolidated structure is what we've called the Course Incubator. So like what you're doing at Auckland University, Heta, the incubator focuses on what we're calling the high impact courses. So these tend to be large 100 level courses with high distance cohorts, and shifting the dial on these on outcomes in these courses is likely to have the biggest impact on our EPIs and on reducing the disparity in outcomes in the different student cohorts. So the Course Incubator is a course redesign and student support intervention model that uses a 4-step approach where course teaching staff work really closely with learning designers and a range of other professional student services, student support staff to identify the specific challenges faced by students in that particular course. And then we design learning experiences and support interventions embed these within the curriculum to deliver those through to the students. And we also offer support for the first delivery of the what we call the incubated course. Based on the outcome of the post-delivery evaluation, there may be some adjustments made. So you can see in that diagram, there's the little yellow arrow improving not on target. We might go back and do some tweaking, and this hasn't happened yet, but you know, it's always possible. We could make things worse, in which case we have to go back and have a really good look at what we've done and start again. So yeah, so based on those outcomes, we make some adjustments, and once that course is running smoothly, those interventions are made sort of business as usual for subsequent offerings of that course. And this is where I think the real power of this model sits. It's the institution taking responsibility and acknowledging that the challenges that are faced by our students are the product of structural and organizational barriers, rather than an indicator of students' abilities or readiness for university study. It's the fact that the university is not ready for the students, and our focus is on removing barriers as well as on supporting the students. Those of you who got to the STARS conference this year will recognize this slide. It's squiffy because I was sitting off center, took a photograph of it. It's from Sally Kift's keynote address, and it speaks to the importance of having everyone around the table when addressing issues of student success. And you can see in her view, she's got industry, she's got learning advisors, library, partner providers, students, program coordinators, everybody is at the table. We're not quite there yet with the Course Incubator. We haven't got students around the table yet. We haven't got industry, for example, but we do have a range of people engaging in the process at different stages from most parts of the university. So at the analysis and planning and design phases, we tend to have the decision makers, the people who can plan and influence change, whereas at the delivery and facilitation phases, the focus is on embedding skills and services of student support and advice teams so that they're available at point of need in the curriculum and able to reach proactively to students. It is an amazing experience having everyone around the table. Every time we've done this, and we've got courses at various stages of the incubator. So we've probably got about 11 at various stages at the moment, and the wealth of knowledge that sits around the table when we're looking at a course and the level of insight that comes is incredibly humbling, and you realize that no matter how much you learn, you've still got lots more. And yeah, it's a really good experience for everyone. So our approach has been recognizing that distance delivery brings with it a unique set of challenges. And although most of our high impact courses are also offered internally, it's usually the students enrolled in the distance courses who experience the biggest barriers to success. And it's that compounding effect that I mentioned earlier. So because of that, we use a design for distance delivery model, design model, and we prioritize relationship rich, active learning experiences. We underpin these with a really clear narration of what the student needs to do and how to do it at every single step of the process. We place a really strong emphasis on formative feedback and collaborative learning so that the students are building relationships with one another as well as with their teaching staff. And we map out the engagement pathway explicitly for course coordinators and clearly allocate the responsibilities for that engagement with students at every single step of the course so that everyone knows who's responsible for doing what and when. Now, this next slide, you're not going to be able to actually read the details, so don't panic, but I just thought I would share it with you anyway to give you a sense of the complexity of what mapping out engagement looks like in a course. So this is an engagement map for a 100 level course over the semester. We're looking at 15 weeks of the semester and the 2 weeks prior to the course starting. So this is developed in collaboration with the teaching teams and the student support services, and we identify key engagement points in that course. And for each course, it will be different. So we're looking at things like the key assessment points, points where the teaching is going to be covering difficult concepts, threshold concepts, working and working through working through the student support decision making that needs to be associated with each of those key points. So a close-up of the plan will give you a slightly better sense of the teams that are part of this mahi and how they are connected. So this is just looking at the very first few weeks of the course. Each stage is so it's a key point. Have they logged into Stream? So Stream is what we call our learning management system. And there is a kind of a yes/no check. And where students are a no, they are then moved onto a support pathway so that the relevant team can reach out to them. So we're not saying to students, if you're struggling, go for help. We're looking at their behavior and seeing that they're potentially struggling, and they're not always struggling, they may just be planning to log on later, but we reach out to them. We don't wait for them to get into trouble. Um, so obviously this is a pretty labor intensive process. Biggest question is, does it have an impact? We've had four courses go right through the process. So we started this with a pilot in semester 2 last year, and we, over the whole of semester 2 last year, we did 4 courses, which were then delivered in semester 1 of this year. And you can see the outcomes are largely positive for those, for all of those courses. So we saw really significant increases in student outcomes for our distance students and for Māori students in all of those courses. Interestingly, and we have to be careful here because Pacific student numbers were incredibly small in these courses, but we saw a drop in student, well, in the percentage of student pass rates for our Pacific students. So we really have to have another look at what's going on there, and that work is currently underway. But yeah, as you can see, it was reassuring to see such positive outcomes in the courses that went through the incubator overall. It is also important to acknowledge that although these courses were the incubated courses, there were other interventions that were happening that were across the whole university. And so we have done some work to try and distinguish whether the outcomes of these courses were I can never say it, statistically significantly different to the outcomes in other courses. And we are seeing that outcomes, particularly for distance students that have been through the incubator, are significantly better. So obviously an improved student experience and improved student outcomes is the main focus of the incubator, but it's really also worth looking at some of the experiences of the course teaching staff. And I'll just give you a minute just to read through some of that feedback. Not all positive, to be fair. And a minute feels like a very long time when it's really just 20 seconds and I've just been counting it. So hopefully you've managed to get through some of those. I thought the comment in the middle about not understanding the project purpose was a particularly interesting one. I mean, it speaks a little bit to our messaging about the project, but it also, for me, is a really good illustration of one of the key challenges of this work is that sometimes people don't want to change what they do. They want additional help to help students navigate rather than remove barriers. We we can be quite traditional and fixed in the way that we do things, and we want to push the onus of change onto our students rather than embracing it ourselves. So speaking of challenges, KIFT describes transition pedagogies as multidimensional and complex challenges. And there's no mistaking that. This is not easy work. The single biggest challenge for us facing the incubator, and my guess is it's no different for most of the initiatives being run in organizations here today is that it's incredibly resource intensive. It needs time and it needs money. And Veronica, I'm taking you at your word. When we prepared for this, you said put a challenge out there. So I'm putting a challenge out here to the TEC and saying that if we're serious about permanently shifting the dial on student outcomes, we've got to fund initiatives like this, well, like the ones that we're talking about today. We've got to fund them well so that initiatives that have been proved to be effective wherever they are and whatever they are can be adopted by other institutions. Currently, universities at least are struggling with closing the equity gap for minoritized students, responding to the code, implementing disability action plans, and we're spreading the financial marmite so thin that we can't even taste the marmite, and I think that's quite an accomplishment. Um, Another challenge that we're facing is the uh, academic sense of ownership of courses, in that they believe that the course is theirs, it's not part of a wider curriculum, and that somehow identifying the challenges and success in student completion is a criticism of them rather than an indication of a failing of our system as a whole. So when we say to teachers that, you know, your course is one that we think needs to come through the incubator, there is often a sense of being personally judged, which is never the intention, but easy to understand. Um, Maintenance of the systems and processes that have been put into the courses will be interesting subsequent to them being moved into business as usual. Obviously, the further and further these courses move away from the time that they were in the incubator, the bigger the chance is of drift for these interventions. And lastly, the desire for a quick fix. I mean, who doesn't like a quick fix? But there are no silver bullets in this work. Um, yeah, so I don't think I need to say anything more there. So given that transition pedagogies underpin the incubator, it seems appropriate to give Sally Kiff the last word. Um, and she says that we need a curriculum that's inclusive, scaffolded, relevant, that explicitly develops skills and interests, provides opportunities to practice and receive feedback, that's relationship rich for a sense of belonging, and that effectively manages all the micro and macro transitions of the student journey. And interestingly, a report published in the UK in 2022, I nearly said 1922, which looked at just over 5,000 students from across England, Scotland, and Wales, and asked them about whether they felt as though they belonged. The survey found that the key to belonging is genuine integration between the subject and the curriculum and everything else. So the creation of coherent, organized learning experiences for students to come along and engage with, and using the curriculum as the organizing framework for all of our interventions. So what's next for us? With Kip's words in mind and in consideration of the need to extend the reach of the incubator model and intentionally design and narrate engaging, accessible and inclusive student learning experiences across multiple courses, we're moving into a second phase of the incubator project, which is focusing on more programmatic approaches. So taking what we're doing at the course level and extending it across learning design and engagement interventions, across qualifications and specializations. No doubt this will bring a whole new set of challenges, but we really believe this is the right way to go. Kia ora.